Did anyone ever tell you the brutal truth about life after 80? Crossing into your 80s brings a quiet shift that few people ever talk about. Not the surface-level stuff like birthdays or slower mornings, but the deeper, often unspoken changes. It's a time filled with both wisdom and loss, presence and distance, deep peace, and sometimes deep loneliness. And if you're not prepared for some of these shifts, they can catch you off guard, leaving you wondering, why didn't someone tell me? In this video, we're walking through 5 brutal realities of life after 80. Not to scare you, not to depress you, but to offer clarity. Because when you see these things coming, you're no longer at their mercy. You can prepare for them and meet them with strength instead of surprise. We'll talk about the shrinking circles, the body that doesn't bounce back like it used to, the creeping dependence that feels uncomfortable even when necessary, the quiet way society starts to overlook you, and that strange ache that shows up when old regrets meet too much time and too little purpose. Stay with us until the end, because while some of these truths may feel heavy, they also open the door to something powerful: acceptance, resilience, and a chance to shape the final stretch of life with a dignity that no one else gets to define but you. Let's talk about what really happens after 80 and how you can walk through it with open eyes, steady hands, and your head held high. Number 1. A social circle that quietly disappears. One of the first realities that hits after 80 isn't physical, it's relational. The people who once filled your world begin to fade, often without warning. Friends pass, neighbors move, siblings grow quiet. Even longtime companions, who used to call every week now, call every few months. It's not personal, it's just time. But it leaves behind a space that can feel hollow no matter how strong or independent you are. One morning you wake up and realize the phone doesn't ring like it used to. The invitations slow down. The family visits grow shorter, more rushed. People still love you, but they're busy, distracted, or dealing with their own aging in different ways. Slowly, the everyday interactions that once kept your life rich with voices and laughter begin thinning out. This isn't something anyone prepares you for. In your 60s and even 70s, most people are still around. There's energy, movement, check-ins. But after 80, there's a shift. You begin to outlive people. You begin to outpace conversations. And that shift is quiet. So quiet that at first, you might not even notice it's happened. I knew a man named Walter, 84, who went to the same coffee shop every morning for years. The staff knew his order. His friends met him there without even texting first. It was a rhythm. But over time, those friends stopped coming. Some passed, some moved, others just stopped driving. One day, Walter told me, "It's strange to walk into a place where everyone used to know your name, and now you're just the man in the corner booth." The pain of that kind of loneliness isn't always loud. It doesn't always come with tears or visible grief. Sometimes it's just a long silence after dinner, or a walk that feels a little too quiet. It's realizing that the list of people who really know you is getting shorter, and you can't stop it. But knowing this reality means you can do something about it. You can open new doors, even when others have closed. You can stay connected on your terms, whether through a church group, a weekly lunch, a phone call you initiate, or even a letter. Because after 80, connection doesn't come to you the way it once did. You have to go get it. And that takes courage. But you've made it this far. You already have that courage in you. Number 2, a body that stops bouncing back. By the time you reach 80, your body doesn't whisper, it speaks clearly. The little aches that used to come and go now linger. The fatigue that once passed with a nap might stretch into the next day. And the truth that catches many people off guard is this. After 80, even small health problems can change your life overnight. You might wake up feeling fine, go about your day, and by evening, something feels off. A little dizziness, a sore leg, a cough that sticks around longer than expected. And suddenly, you're in a waiting room, hearing words like monitoring, imaging, or possible admission. What used to be brushed off with rest now demands attention. And often, there's no going back to how things were before. What makes this stage so difficult isn't just the physical pain. It's the unpredictability. You can do everything right, eat well, move gently, get your sleep, and still feel like your body is one step ahead of you, making decisions you didn't agree to. A misstep on the stairs can lead to weeks of recovery. A stomach bug can drain you for days, and even when you recover, things don't always return to normal. Your balance might feel off. Your breathing might take more effort. The bounce back just isn't what it used to be. I once met a woman named Gloria, 81, sharp, active, and proud of her independence. She loved tending her backyard garden, walking the neighborhood, staying engaged with her book club. But after a minor fall while trimming a rosebush, everything changed. It wasn't the injury, she said. It was the aftermath. Weeks of rest turned into months of reduced strength. Her confidence slipped. I thought I was just taking a break, she told me, but my body treated it like a full stop. That's the part no one tells you. At 80, rest isn't always restorative in the same way. It can turn into decline if you're not careful. And sometimes, even when you are careful, your body decides to slow down anyway. You realize you're not bouncing back. You're adapting forward. But here's the strength in knowing this. You start honoring your energy more wisely. You learn to pace yourself, not out of fear, but out of respect for what your body has carried you through. As we move deeper into life after 80, one of the hardest shifts to accept is the growing need for help. No matter how fiercely independent you've been, there comes a point where things that once felt effortless begin to demand extra care. It's not always sudden. It creeps in quietly. You start avoiding the high shelves, holding the railing just a little tighter, hesitating before driving on a rainy day. You still feel capable, but deep down, you sense something has changed. What makes this stage especially challenging isn't just the physical limitation, it's the emotional weight that comes with it. If you've spent a lifetime taking care of others, the idea of needing help yourself can feel deeply uncomfortable. You might begin to hide it. Maybe you skip the grocery run instead of asking someone to go with you. You keep quiet about the fall you had last week. You try to fix things on your own, even with a sore shoulder. The truth is, your desire for independence hasn't faded. It's only grown stronger. But independence at this stage takes a new shape. It's not about doing everything by yourself. It's about knowing when to reach out and being brave enough to accept support. I once met a man named Eugene, 85, who had lived through war, raised a family, and built a shed with nothing but scrap wood and determination. He prided himself on doing everything himself. But one winter, he slipped on his icy driveway. No broken bones, just bruised pride. He didn't tell anyone, but his daughter noticed the difference. She began showing up with groceries and stayed for coffee. At first, Eugene pushed back. "I'm fine," he insisted. But over time, those visits became something more. Eventually, he admitted, "It's nice, not having to carry everything alone." That's the quiet wisdom of aging. It's not weakness to accept help. It's strength. Because every time you let someone lend a hand, you're not losing independence. You're preserving it. Whether it's a grab bar in the shower, a kitchen stool, or a friendly reminder on the fridge, these small things don't take away your dignity. They protect it. After 80, one of the bravest things you can say is, I could use a hand. Choosing safety over pride, peace over struggle, connection over isolation, that's true strength. Another truth that settles in after 80 is the feeling of being slowly overlooked. It's not about your memory or your joints. It's about your presence. You begin to notice it in subtle ways. The cashier looks right past you to the next customer. The doctor speaks to your adult child instead of you. A server assumes you need help ordering, even though your mind is as sharp as ever. It's not always cruel. It's just dismissive. And over time, it lands somewhere deep. Because no matter our age, we want to be seen, especially after living a full life, working, raising families, weathering storms. To feel invisible because of wrinkles or white hair is jarring. And perhaps what stings most is that the world doesn't mean to hurt you. It's just moving too fast, forgetting that slow steps carry incredible stories. A youth-obsessed culture often overlooks the strength it takes to make it this far. And unless you speak up, it's easy to feel like you're shrinking, not because you've gone quiet, but because others have stopped listening. I once spoke with Irene, 86, who volunteered at a local museum. One day, a visitor asked a question she could have answered in her sleep. After all, she had lived through that exact decade of history. But they asked the staff instead, overlooking her completely. When I asked how that made her feel, she just smiled and said, "I'm used to it." But the sadness in her smile said more than her words ever could. It's the sadness of being treated like furniture when you still carry fire. But hear this clearly. You are not background. You are not fading. You are still here, still thinking, still contributing. Just because the world sometimes forgets you doesn't mean you have to forget yourself. So what can you do? You speak anyway. You ask the questions. You offer your opinion. You vote. You share your stories, even when no one asks. You stand, even if your knees wobble. Because every time you claim your space in the room, you send a message to the world, and more importantly, to yourself. You are not done yet. You are not invisible. You are a living library, a witness to time, a voice that still matters. And no, you don't need to shout to be heard. You just need to refuse to disappear. If you're still with us and finding these reflections meaningful, comment number 4 below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so and hit that notification bell so you won't miss what comes next. Your support helps us continue creating thoughtful content that informs, encourages, and honors your journey. Now let's continue. Number 5, a sense of regret if purpose isn't redefined. As you move deeper into your 80s, a quiet kind of stillness begins to settle in, not just in your home, but inside you. Life slows down, the calendar thins out, and with that comes space. Space to reflect, to remember, to revisit moments you tucked away in the rush of living. That space can be peaceful, but it can also become heavy. Not in an obvious or dramatic way, but in those softer whispers. The "I wish I had spent more time with them" kind. The "why didn't I take that chance" kind. Regret doesn't always roar. It sometimes sits in the quiet, especially when you now have time, but not always the strength or freedom to do what you once postponed. We talk often about the joys of aging, the wisdom, the freedom, the grandkids, and all of that is real. But so is the question that floats in the stillness. What now? When your life has been filled with work, care, activity, service, and then suddenly it pauses, it can feel like your purpose is fading with it. I remember Stanley, 88, a retired teacher who spent over 4 decades shaping young minds. He felt proud of his life's work, but also a little lost. "No one needs me anymore," he once said. But that wasn't true. He just hadn't found a new way to be needed. Because purpose doesn't retire, it evolves. You may not build houses anymore, but you build confidence in your great-grandchildren with your stories. You may no longer lead meetings, but you lead by simply being present when someone is grieving. Maybe you're not solving global problems, but you're solving loneliness with a warm smile to your neighbor. Regret doesn't come from making mistakes. We've all made them. It comes from not transforming those moments into something meaningful. But when you let go of the idea that purpose must look like productivity and embrace the idea that presence is just as powerful, you begin to see how much you still have to give to others and to yourself. Because perhaps the most important work you'll do after 80 isn't about legacy or recognition. It's about waking up with kindness in your heart, curiosity in your eyes, and enough courage to ask, "How can I bring a little light today?" That's not regret. That's redemption. And the beautiful truth? It's never too late to find it. Final thoughts. Reaching your 80s is no small milestone. It's the result of decades of effort, love, loss, reinvention, resilience. But that strength comes with new challenges, some loud, some quiet, some that creep in slowly. But facing these truths doesn't make you weak. It makes you real. It means you've lived long enough to see life in its rawest form, unpredictable, sometimes unfair, but always worth showing up for. So, which of these 5 realities spoke to you most? Was it the loneliness of a shrinking social world, the frustration of a body that doesn't bounce back, the emotional weight of needing help, the sting of invisibility, or the ache of a fading purpose? Whatever it was, I hope you felt seen, because you are not alone. Not in your slowing down, not in your wondering, not in your hoping. And here's the gift. Even now, you still have a choice. You can choose connection. You can choose to rest without guilt. You can choose to ask for help, to speak up when someone overlooks you, and to soften when someone needs grace. You can choose to forgive yourself for what didn't happen, and to honor what did. This chapter of life is not the end. It's the depth of the story, the part where every word holds more meaning, where small gestures matter more than grand ones, where your presence, your wisdom, your calm strength, that becomes your greatest power. Thank you for joining us. We'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below. Share one thing you learned today and how you plan to carry it forward. Your voice matters here, and your reflections keep us inspired. If you found this video meaningful, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Your support helps us continue making content that matters. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.